Es hora de Noticias 45 Univisión. Solo a las 10.
They kicked my right leg, and then it began to hurt every day more and more. 2 weeks later, I couldn't walk anymore.
But the life of this young man had a light at the end of this difficult path. Find out what it was in Limbs of Love.
On my first day here, they told me just after seeing it, not even after doing tests, that I had cancer.
But that diagnosis was not a death sentence. See why in this special series, Limbs of Love.
Every day, hundreds of immigrants come to this country in search of the American dream. Many of them are received with open arms, while others, it's totally different.
That's right, Osvaldo. And Maria Corrales will tell us the touching story of two Hispanic men who lost their extremities and risked it all to have a more normal life.
That's right, Andrea and Osvaldo. For one moment, I want us to think about what would my life be like without an arm or a leg or whatever part of our body. Imagine if you sought medical help, and because you didn't have a Social Security number, door after door was closed in front of you. Today we present the touching story of two men in search of limbs of love. Since he was a little boy, Victor Miramon loved sports. The soccer field was his favorite place, and he always tried his hardest at games. But it was exactly there, in that place, where he had so much fun, that he began to have one of the worst nightmares for this young boy of 12.
They kicked my right leg, and then it began to hurt every day more and more. 2 weeks later, I couldn't walk anymore.
Living in Mexico, doctors diagnosed him with a skin infection. Even so, months later, when the Shriners Hospital in the United States took up his case, the diagnosis was a more concerning one.
On my first day here, they told me just after seeing it, not even after doing tests, that I had cancer.
It was 99% certain that he was going to leave me. He was going to die.
But it was in that tiny percentage that the young man lived. Nevertheless, days later, Victor lost his right leg, changing his life forever.
It changed a bit, but I just had to do things different. Like soccer. I couldn't play soccer anymore.
2 years passed before this young man received his first prosthetic limb. Later, at 20, he received a replacement, but he hasn't received a new one since then.
It's hard to have one longer than 5 years because one's weight changes, the cut limb changes, the way one walks changes, if someone is walking better. It's the same story with Alejandro Osorio from Veracruz, Mexico, a strong man, a fighter, and provider for his family.
I was going up the ladder, but I think there was a slippery part. Since there are wells, there is mud there. I slipped.
Alejandro fell 10 to 12 meters in height, losing his left leg that day. He tried to recall the details of the tragic accident, but could not.
No, I don't like to talk about this. I remember that day.
For both Victor and Alejandro, the biggest challenge is not living without a leg, but getting to the United States without papers now that multiple doors have been shut. But it seems like there is a light of hope at the end of the tunnel.
No, it's not fair, right? But here we are.
For my kids. For them.
But without questions about their immigration status, without having to show a Social Security card, during this week of Thanksgiving, they received the big news that both of them had been approved for a new prosthesis, and they didn't have to pay 1 cent.
I am so thankful because they are going to help me, and because I have a family that has always supported me. They have always been by my side when I have needed their help.
But thank you, because I didn't expect it.
Today is the start of a new chapter in both of their lives. Victor and Alejandro's prostheses are being made, and they should be receiving them in the coming weeks. Tomorrow, only at 10 o'clock, we will see step by step how these prosthetic legs are created and turned into true gifts of love.
María Corrales, Noticias 45 Univisión, solo a las 10.